Hi, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Cioffi. Fixed the audio problem. I did had a Windows update that occurred uh, the other day, and this is the first time I'm using it since. And of course, the Windows update wind up shutting off all the sound. So you should be able to hear me at this point. So hopefully, awesome. Thank you, Wayne S. Really appreciate it. So we are dealing with another weather system that is tilting to the west. And as a result, areas from northern Delaware up to southern New England, including Philadelphia, New York City, New Jersey, extreme southeastern New York, will see their third snowfall in 6 days, which is hard to do even in the depths of the winter time. I have racked my brains out trying to remember when was the last time that happened, and I can't seem to recall. I don't think it's ever happened that I can think of, in my experience, certainly during the month of December, but particularly the first half of the month of December. That to me is really a standout here. So why don't we get right to what's happening and take a look. We're going to start off with going to put up my new snow forecast in just a second. Let me just show you what I did, and this will just take me 1 minute. I kind of just came right through the door and jumped on the live stream to solve this technical problem. So give me a half a second here, and we'll do this. Okay, and here we go. So this is what I've come up with as far as the snow is concerned for Friday. This will be for Friday afternoon into Friday evening, and models are still trending westward. So I'm thinking that there'll be a general 1 to 2 inch snowfall inside the light blue line across a good chunk of Delaware, southeastern Pennsylvania, across into northern New Jersey, and then turning into southern Connecticut, and a band of 2 to 3 inches through much of central and south Jersey, basically south of and east of Route 95, and 2 to 3 inches over Long Island. I might want to kind of extend this southern flank back westward, perhaps to include extreme southeastern Pennsylvania, in and around the Philadelphia area in that 2 to 3 inch zone. After looking at some of the models, I put this map together at about 9, right after I saw the NAM. But after digesting a few of the other models, I think I may want to raise this area up in southeastern Pennsylvania and northern Delaware and put that also into the 2 to 3 inch zone. And I think there's still room for models to adjust westward with this. That really has been the signature that we've seen with a lot of these events since late October. I think this might be the 4th or 5th time that we've seen this happen. So up we go with the weather models, and we'll start with the NAM model tonight, and we'll bring that NAM model up for you. And it's hard to tell. I have to be honest, with the snow that we had on Wednesday night into Thursday morning, I was paying most of my attention to that. And, usually I try to just kind of focus on one storm at a time, because it really is too much to deal with when you have a couple of systems. You don't often have them back to back like this. Usually there's at least a few days apart. This one, is within 36 hours. But, you look at the NAM, and it looks rather innocent here as we move into the middle part of Friday. But then you start to see a growing area of snow across northeastern Virginia into the Washington, D.C., Baltimore area, on over to Delaware, New Jersey, over Long Island, and southeast New York. And there's a low that the models have been showing for well over a week now. But through the course of this week and up until late yesterday afternoon, when the RGEM model was the first one to start hinting at this, the models have been basically keeping this flat and developing it way out to the east and of being no consequence. So look at what's happened since then. I'll go back just to show you. I'll go back 4 model runs, which is just this time last night, and look at what it has for the same time frame. Absolutely nothing. A little low center east of North Carolina that runs out going east-northeast. And since then, if we go back to the run from this afternoon, just go back one more. Here it started showing a little hint of something, but even here it was keeping much of that out to the east. I'll back it up, and you can see it here. This is where it started to get it closer, but still, virtually all of it was offshore. And now, of course, when we go into the new model run, and there you have it. And I think there's room here for this to get tucked in a little further west. So what's happening? Well, we're going to jump to the upper air, and we have this upper trough that's coming through. You can see it extending from Lake Superior southeastward. It's not the strongest trough in the world, but by no means is it the weakest either. And when we back it up, you can see that trough is swinging around. One of the things that I think where the model was wrong was, it was leaving all this energy. The southern part of the trough where we have the subtropical jet was being left to the south, but the north is doing it all on its own, and it's just swinging around. Now, if this is a little bit sharper, just a little bit, you could wind up having that low a bit more tucked in. And then, of course, the system runs out to the northeast. This is another one of these 6 to 8 hour snowfalls, and it's going to put down whatever it puts down in that time frame. We'll show you the snow map. I'm going to get really close up now on our area. Computer seems to be a little bit slow tonight. But here's the close-up view of that NAM model, and you can see the darker shades of blue right along the immediate coast, and then it moves on out to the northeast. The snow amounts, when we look at those, you'll notice we'll start with the 10 to 1. I think the ratio is going to be more like 12 or 13 to 1 because of the temperatures, which will be primarily in the 20s when this is going on. But the whitish area here, that's all 3 inches or more, and it's even shading some of the purple area that you see on the scale to the side, running in some little area of 4 to 5 inch amounts, at least according to the NAM. And then you start to get to the lower amounts across Long Island, 2 to 3 inches, and then lesser as you go north and west, 2 inch, 1 inch, and then less than that. So this is going to be confined to the coast. If it tilts a little more northwest, then we could shift the snow a little further north. The system from Wednesday night into Thursday morning actually wound up producing snows in southeastern New York and in Connecticut up to Route 84 on the order of a couple of inches, even though the models were only showing liquid amounts of around 1/10 of an inch or so. I'm going to change over now to the RGEM model, which is one of my favorite ones to use in situations like this. It has performed quite well in instances where in the super short range that it operates in, it seems to do very well in situations like this where systems are tucking into the west. And you can see here, southern New Jersey to central and eastern Long Island, a general zone of about 2 or 3 inches. Again, this is on a 10 to 1 ratio. And whoops, oh, there we go. I want to put the surface map on. And there we go. Here's your surface map. We'll go to the beginning as soon as it's done loading them up. And again, this is for later tomorrow afternoon and the first part of tomorrow night. 6 to 8 hours worth of precip. The RGEM has the low a little more tucked in. You can see it right here, a little low center that's tucked in closer to the coast than the NAM does. I'll get it shorter so you can see the time better. And here's your snow. up into almost into northwest New Jersey, up to about Route 84, and then over Long Island. This is at 10 o'clock tomorrow night, and then ending as it moves away to the northeast. So, very interesting situation. We can also now at this point, I think, see what the HRRR does. Now, I'm just going to caution you that the HRRR model has not been performing well at all for a long time. So I want to be a little cautious with this, depending on what it shows. So let's take a look, and we'll have to go back one model run because this model runs every hour. So it's constantly, getting new model runs with this. Once upon a time, you were happy enough. Oh, I can't. What is wrong? Let's try that one. It's being very mean to me. All right, we should have a full run here. See how far out it takes us, because it only goes out 18 hours. And you can see the snow growth there. So this is by 3 p.m. tomorrow, where it's showing radar echoes aloft. The total precip up until that point will give us at least a reflection. You can see that in spite of what it shows on the radar, it's only at this point beginning to reach the ground, because here we have some small liquid amounts starting to pop up across eastern Pennsylvania and through parts of New Jersey. So we would really need it to go out a little bit further, and it's just not done with that portion of the run. So just in review, let me pull up the snow map that I have. And again, I'm going to probably want to increase the amounts in southeastern PA around Philadelphia, put them in the 2 to 3 inch zone. So we're going to extend this back line further northwest and then run it to maybe just south of New York City and just north of Long Island, just like I have it here. Maybe I'll pull this part a little bit further to the south, but I'll deal with that in the morning. But this part right now, I feel pretty confident. I want to bring it back into southeastern Pennsylvania and maybe even into the northern parts of Delaware. Okay, so now let's go to the long range, because we have enough of the GFS. And the GFS today was starting to come back a little colder in the long term. We've been talking about the problems that the models have been having in this setup that we have in the atmosphere, with the atmosphere in such an extreme condition. Bring up the GFS. It's been in such an extreme condition with the deep troughs, big ridges. The NAO is going strongly positive, but the PNA is getting ready to crash, and then crash negative in a strong way. The EPO is getting ready to crash. The East Pacific Oscillation getting ready to crash in a strong way too, which is favorable for cold in the eastern part of the United States. So let's look at what's happening on the full North America view, because we should have it out pretty far on the new run. And this is a change from earlier. We've been discussing the fact that the models have been trying to pull part of the trough down in the southwest and doing all sorts of strange things with it, bringing a big ridge into the eastern states. Now, I think what's going to happen is, as this trough pulls out, we are going to see the pattern in the east relax a bit, and moderation in temperatures. There's energy in the southwest that's going to come out this week. But notice the next trough that comes into the west does not dive into the southwest. Instead, it just keeps moving along, and the ridge reappears in the western part of the U.S. So if this is correct, that Pacific North America index, which you want to see in a strongly positive position to favor some colder air, is going to get there if this is right. And notice the vortex that forms over Hudson Bay. You've got a broad trough from the plains to the Ohio Valley and toward the East Coast. This is not a warm look by any means. Part of that lifts out, and then another arm rotates around right in time for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. That's a pretty decent looking trough, and it's, even though it's a little bit to the west, it's broad enough where we could wind up in cold air and some overrunning over the Northeast and even into northern areas of the mid-Atlantic states come Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And as we go out in the long range, we're now out to day 16. We've got a fairly well-developed vortex in southeastern Canada, a ridge in the west, and a good deal of cold air coming into the United States. Now, the trick is whether the model is going to be consistent. Are we going to see consistent model runs here? And, something tells me we probably won't. We still will have some roller coastering to do. But the fact that we are now, getting closer to that, what I would like to think is the more magical 7-day time frame, that idea of a deep trough in the west and ridging in the east because of energy going down in the southwest appears less and less likely with every model run that we look at. So when we look at the weather across the U.S. on a daily basis on this run, now I want you to understand that try not to focus too much on what the surface maps are doing. The flavor of the upper air pattern here is far more important than that, than what it does specifically, because we know that's going to adjust and change, and it may do so quite a bit. By the way, I'm thinking that maybe Sunday night into Monday morning, there's a little bit of a warm front that's coming up. The GFS doesn't show it too well. The European showed it a bit better. So there might be some mixed precip, some light mixed precip. You can see it here Sunday night into Monday morning. Meanwhile, there's some rain and snow coming into the northwest, and that just dries up as it moves eastward. Here we have the next front that comes through for Tuesday with some showers, nothing crazy. And energy is going to come out of the Pacific Northwest on Wednesday, moving into Montana. Looks like some snows in the northern Rockies there, maybe even pushing into parts of northwestern Colorado. But low pressure moves east into southern Minnesota, and there'll be a trailing cold front with that, with some showers at the end of the week. So this week looks to be, on the mild side, except for that shot of cold air around Wednesday into Thursday. Then after that goes by, this is where I think that the GFS may be in error. It is showing again, the front stalling out, and now we're into Christmas Eve and a wave developing on that front. Now, here's the wave when it goes northeast of us, and it produces some snow on the northwestern flank with colder air pushing in as the trough begins to swing to the east. So we'll have some overrunning. We're going to need some timing here if this is right, but I tend to think that this will change some more. And if the northern part, the northern energy, the northern part of the trough is a little stronger, cold air will be a little more important, that we may have a larger area of snow, and who knows, maybe even some ice issues in some places. There's your low just east of Boston by Christmas night, with snow shown from northern New Jersey throughout all of New England. So I think this has some potential here when we get to that time frame. The waves, remember, everything's always been adjusting further to the left, so I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. And then, we have cold air being indicated here for the last days of 2017, and going into the new year, it looks like a fairly cold weather pattern developing. So first things first, of course, will be tomorrow. We'll see how that plays out, and I'll be very curious to see what the European did have a bit of a colder look today, I thought. And the Canadian, believe it or not, the Canadian model, by the way, is on a bit of a hot streak, because the Canadian has been insistent all week long that this wave was going to pass very close. In fact, I am so excited about the Canadian actually performing well that I think we should look at it. So let's see what the Canadian does. And because if the Canadian's been on a hot streak, you want to pay attention. I don't know how long the hot streak is going to last, but you know what? it's the old saying about broken clocks being right twice a day. Well, maybe it's that time of day. It's set to midnight, and we are at the midnight hour for the Canadian model. All right, let me just get the precip on here. Sorry, just having a little bit of a slow time with things. So here's the Canadian. I'll leave me up in the corner. And there it is. The Canadian once again has, this low developing near the coast with some snow. Let's see how much it gave last night. I'll start with the total liquid precip. So it gives, 2 to 3 tenths over a good chunk of this area. And the snow on a 10-to-1 ratio, I think the ratios are going to be a little higher because of the fact that we're going to have temperatures in the 20s through this. So it has a, much like the RGEM, 2 to 3 inches. This is actually going to probably wind up being a repeat performance of what we just went through, which I don't think is half bad. I sent a message to the Weather Service to see if they could find out, the answer to my question, which is, have we ever had, 3 accumulating snows of an inch or more in the New York City area before the middle of December? Because it is, I can't, as I said earlier, I've never seen this. Okay, I think, Ricky Della Riva, you've got to go. You're gone. I can't deal with stupid people. Okay. Let me get to your questions now. First of all, good evening to all of you who came on to the second live stream. And I apologize for all of this. And I also apologize for this Ricky Della Riva person who apparently has got nothing else better to do but to say stupid crap. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, you might see some snow in D.C., Joshua Pan. You might not. You may get an inch or two out of this. J.S. Sweetie is torn between a cold snow lover and wishing for warmer weather for the feral cat. I know, but you know what? They're used to being outside, so don't worry too much about it. Anthony Orr, in a long-range pattern, would sudden changes in a model showing something different be correct often? No, actually, it's not unusual for models to have these kind of hiccups. I just don't, this has been an ongoing thing. Usually it'll hiccup for a couple of runs and then go back to the original pattern. This has been hiccuping a number of times. Seems to want to go back to the original pattern now. So let's hope that, from the standpoint of some forecast consistency, which would make my life a little easier, that we see that going forward and not keep flipping back and forth. Why has the National Weather Service not issued well, you mean a winter weather advisory? They will in the morning. All of this is happening very quickly. It's all in the last minute. The evening model runs come out after they put out their evening forecast. So I doubt that they would have updated this. I'll give it a quick check here on the side. I don't think they did, but no, not yet. They'll do it in the morning. And for laughs, I'll see if they updated their snowfall map, because sometimes they do update that ahead of time. And there we go. Just trying to get this to work right. No, they still haven't updated their snow map either, so we're pretty much going to have to wait for them in the morning to fix things. Paul Visentini, you got 10 inches out of the last one. Yeah, you have good snow up in ski country there. I was looking at some of the ski reports over the last few days. You got a lot of open trails. This is a really good weekend for snow. Bobcat, an inch or two Friday night in Patterson. Sure, why not? Maybe closer to the 2 than the 1. I think we're looking better if you want a white Christmas, I think we're looking better as we get there. Hi, Stephen Franco. Good to see you here. Maybe a little more snow for you guys to plow around tomorrow. Nothing for Southeast Virginia there when weather and low, not this time around. Let's see, I'm just trying to get the last of your comments because I'm going to call it a night. Do you think the Northwest trend will continue? We've got two more model runs. We've got the mid-cycle run in 3 hours. The European is yet to come out. I think there's room for one more Northwest shift. I wouldn't be surprised if we do get that. So we'll see. But, I think we're good. The models are kind of going in that direction. So it's hard for me to argue against it. And, a little bit more of a shift to the Northwest. If that trough is a little sharper, you might have a little more precip to deal with too. So that's another possibility. If you don't get the Northwest shift, you might get a little bit more precip to play with. And we just got rid of another person, so that's good. I got rid of him, Bobcat. He's gone. Anthony Orr, average snowfall for December is 4.8. Okay. Yeah, that's correct. And, I was having a conversation with one of my colleagues tonight about the fact that these are 30-year averages. And we've come off, a low-end cycle as far as December snows are concerned. That we didn't have that much snow in the month of December for the 30 years from 1970 to 2000. And that's changed in the last 16 years. And then if you go back before that, December's actually used to get a decent amount of snow. The long-term average for the month of December in the New York City area is actually closer to 6 inches, which is what they've gotten from the first two systems. So we've had an average December when you look at the averages going back 140 years. And tomorrow we'll go above average, assuming we get what's being forecast. Yes, Wayne S., the trolls are out tonight for sure. I don't know how many accounts JS Sweetie he's been banned from, but he's certainly been banned from mine. I guess, it's sad. Some people have nothing else better to do. All right, folks, we're going to call it a night at this point. I'm going to hit the hay. We'll update you, of course, tomorrow. New forecasts will be up on the website in the morning. And thank you, Andrew. I appreciate what you just said. Thank you. I'll be updating forecasts in the morning on the website. Let's see. So dating for adults needs to go also. Unbelievable. Oh, well, I haven't done a midnight live stream in a while. I guess everybody's, I don't know what moon phase we're in, but it's bringing them out. All right, folks, have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow.